Forget to share this.
Yeah, I'll not forget to share the screen. Okay. I'll do a small intro for our for YouTube and then begin. Okay. So hello everybody. Welcome to the 19th discussion of the Read Write Inspire Classics Book Club. Today we are going to be discussing To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. So let's begin. I'm going to share the screen now. Okay. So today, at the beginning, let's first see about the Scottsboro Trials. And in fact, this was one of the most important. It's considered as one of the most important trials which inspired the book. And then we'll see about the book, the author, and we'll also see about her second book, Ghost at a Watchman, and the movie based on To Kill a Mockingbird, the narrative style, some discussion, and quotes. So the Scottsboro trials are considered as what inspired, but it was not only this. There were other incidents also, but this was one important incident which is considered as a something which inspired Harper Lee to write this book. So in 1931, there were I think there were more than nine African American teenagers traveling in a train, and it was a freight train, and there were some white boys also on the train. So one of them suddenly told these boys that that this is actually a white man's train, and he tried to push the black boys off it. But since there were many of the black boys, they stopped him, and they did not allow these white boys to push them off. The humiliated white teenagers, they got off the train, they went to the city's sheriff, and they reported that they were attacked. Immediately, the police reached there, they stopped the train, and they arrested these boys. So there were nine African American boys, and or maybe even more, I'm not sure. And then there were some two white girls. They were arrested, and what happened was, to evade arrest and to divert the police's attention, these girls claimed that they were raped. And they named nine African American boys, and the boys' age group ranged from 12 to 19 years of age. So the main, problems which came out and which were highlighted during this trial was the inherent racism in the system. The right for a fair trial was definitely denied to the black boys. And there was also this thing that if any African American person maybe molests or tries to attract the attention of a white lady, it was considered that it is okay to lynch such a person. So there were lynch mobs, disruptive mobs, and others which were also involved in this incident. And as shown in the book and the movie, it was an all-white jury. There was a very rushed trial, and there was a massive miscarriage of justice. So what happened in the Scottsboro trials was that there were three rushed trials which took place. There was hardly any legal representation given to the boys, and there was no medical evidence that rape had taken place. In fact, the two girls it was said that those two white girls who complained that they were raped were actually prostitutes, and they were scared that they would be arrested by the police, because traveling to another state for an illegal or immoral purpose was considered a very major crime in those days. So fearing all this, it is said that they probably, that's why they tried to divert the attention. And also, as the trial went by, one of the victims, the alleged victim, in fact, she claimed that, and she said that yes, no rape had taken place, and also that the other alleged victim, was also not raped. Despite this, all of them, there were 7 out of the 8 convictions were affirmed. Only the 13-year-old boy was granted a new trial because he was a minor. And this was the ruling by the Alabama Supreme Court after the junior court voted that all of them need to be, all of them were convicted. Again, it went to the Alabama Supreme Court, and once again, this is what happened. And the Chief Justice Anderson over there, he dissented and he ruled that the defendants had been denied an impartial jury, a fair trial, fair sentencing, and effective counsel. So once again, the cases went to the United States Supreme Court. That's another big story. It again over there, it went, there was 2 times it had to be appealed over there, but still, despite all of this, nothing really happened, nothing helped the boys. And even in fact, there was in one particular appeal, they finally got one black man on the jury, but he also voted in favor of the conviction. And again, it was a guilty verdict. So despite the judge was replaced, the case was tried again, and all these things happened. And after all these, repeated trials and this, which went on for a period of more than 6-7 years, all the charges, were all the, I think out of the 9, I think 5 or 6 convictions were upheld. And in that also, only 2 of them, in fact, served till the end. The others kind of, they either escaped from jail, or they were shot, or they fell sick and died, or, whatever. And finally, much later, the charges were dropped against for the 4 of the 9 defendants. And the other 5 who were convicted, they also received sentences which were ranging from 75 years to death. And this trial was known as the Scottsboro Trial, and the boys were known as Scottsboro boys. And it's considered, this case has been analyzed in depth in a lot in the media, articles, books have been written about them, movies have been taken about it. And it's been commonly understood there was a major miscarriage of justice over here, especially because of the use of all white juries. Finally, in 2013, it was given that there was pardons which were granted for them, and all the convictions were overturned. But this was actually 24 years after the last living person had died. So this was justice delayed is as good as justice denied. And these were the girls, and this is a scene just in front of the courtroom where there was a mob which had come to attack the boys. And it is said that there was this huge crowd which gathered in front of the police station, just like how it's shown in To Kill a Mockingbird in the movie. So, and this is an actual picture from the crowd, and they wanted to, attack the boys. The sheriff was considered a very bold character over here. And what he did was, he just stood in front of his police station and he said, the first man to step in front of me is going to get shot. So I don't care whoever it is, the first man to step in front of me would be shot. And nobody dared to do that. And then he called in the army and he got more protection for him, for the police station and other things after that. So, yeah. So this is the trial which inspired the book and later on the movie. So To Kill a Mockingbird was Harper Lee's only book. In the 20th century, To Kill a Mockingbird is probably the most widely read book dealing with race in America. And its main character, Atticus Finch, is the most enduring fictional image of racial heroism. British librarians rank the book ahead of the Bible as one every adult should read before they die in 2006. So that's an old image of Harper Lee. So the book sold more than 30 million copies, and it has been translated into more than 40 languages. It has never been out of print in either hardcover or in paperback, and it has become a part of the standard literature curriculum in not only in America, in fact, in many countries around the world. So Harper Lee won a lot of awards and recognition. She won the 1961 Pulitzer Prize and has become and To Kill a Mockingbird has become a classic of modern American literature. She won the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2007. In 2010, President Barack Obama awarded Lee the National Medal of Arts. She never married or had any children. Truman Capote was her close friend, and she helped him in research for his book In Cold Blood. And Truman Capote was the basis for the character Dill Harris in To Kill a Mockingbird. So Harper Lee and Capote were very good friends. So in Harper Lee's book, she wrote Truman Capote as Dill Harris. And Truman Capote, in his first novel, he had a character which was based on Harper Lee. They both were neighbors. And just like this, every year, Truman Capote's mother used to travel to New York. And that time, he would stay next door to Harper Lee and they would be enjoying their summer together. Just like Scout and Dill in the book. So there is a lot of autobiographical elements throughout the book. Atticus Finch is based on her father. Actually, his name is Lee, but it's also her mother's name is Finch. So that's how the Finch Lee comes in there. He's a lawyer. And the character Scout is based on Harper Lee. Dill is based on Capote. The book is based on the Scottsboro Trials, as we just saw. And down the street from Lee's, there lived a family, and their house was always boarded up. They served as the models for the fictional Radleys. So the son of the family got into some legal trouble, and the father kept him at home for 24 years out of shame. He was hidden until he was virtually forgotten. And he died, actually, the person on whom Boo Radley is based, died in 1952. And Truman Capote also, in his first novel, wrote about a character which is based exactly on Boo Radley. But then it is said that in the later drafts, he kind of removed the character because he felt he had written the character in a very different manner from Harper Lee's Boo Radley. So he felt it would clash a lot with the, in a reader's mind. So he didn't want to do that. And that's why it said he removed the character. So To Kill a Mockingbird, the movie, it was made from a $2 million budget, $2 million budget, but it earned more than 20 million very soon. This is an image of Gregory Peck and Harper Lee, and this is Harper Lee with her scout, with the scout in the movie. Just a minute. Yeah. So it was a box office hit. It won 3 Oscars and it was nominated for 5 more Oscars. Lee was so impressed with Peck's performance that she gave him her father's pocket watch. And he wore that when he was awarded the Oscar for Best Actor. And Gregory Peck and Harper Lee were very close friends all through their lives. And in fact, Peck's grandson is named Harper in her honor. Peck's widow said of Lee, she's like a national treasure. She's someone who has made a difference with this book. The book is still as strong as it ever was, and so is the film. All the kids in the United States read this book and see the film in the 7th and 8th grades and write papers and essays. My husband used to get thousands and thousands of letters from teachers who would send them to him. Let's see a little bit about the narrative style of the book. So the whole book is told through the eyes of a child. So it said the narrative is very tough because Lee has to both be a kid on the street and aware of the mad dogs and the spooky houses, and have this beautiful vision of how justice works and all the creaking mechanisms of the courthouse. Part of the beauty is that she trusts the visual to lead her and the sensory. Harper Lee has a remarkable gift of storytelling. Her art is visual, and with cinematographic fluidity and subtlety, we see a scene melting into another scene without jolts of transition. Lee combines the narrator's voice of a child observing her surroundings with a grown woman's reflecting on her childhood. using the ambiguity of this voice combined with the narrative technique of flashback to play intricately with perspectives. Okay, so let me pause the screen share before we see more about the second book and the other controversies surrounding To Kill a Mockingbird. And would anybody like to share anything about your experience in reading the book? Hi, Percy. Good to see you here.
Hi. I'm back after a while, I think.
Yeah, after quite a while.
So, Archana, can I say something? Ranjini?
Please do, please.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, I got the audio book from the Singapore library. And interestingly, the audiobook is narrated by Sissy Spacek, who's an actress. And because it's located in the southern United States, right, Alabama, so they have the southern drawl, the accent. So normally when I read audiobooks, I set it at a slightly higher speed. So one is the normal speed, and then you can do 1.1, 1.2. So normally if the narration is slow, I set it to higher. But for this book, I had to dial it down. So I had to keep that. I brought it back to 1 so that I could hear, pay attention to the words, as well as, because she's an actress, there's a lot of emotion in the narration as well. And the accent was so strong that I almost thought I was watching the movie. But the downside of reading the audiobook, it was like 12 hours of listening. And there were times when I just wanted to know what happened next. So because I had the print copy, I would switch between the two. So one afternoon, I'm like, I'm not spending another 1.5 hours listening to this book. So I just sat and finished the book at the end. But yeah, I think it was a miracle of narrating such a sort of an adult topic through the eyes of such a young child, who's not even like 9 years old. But what I loved most about of course, the main story is there, but the brother-sister bond was shown so nicely, which most novels don't touch. Most fiction is about, literary fiction is about many characters, usually a huge saga, or there's romantic love. But this sibling connection, right, told through these 2 or 3 summers that all this happens, I thought it was very, very well done. In addition to all the other accolades the book has won, I got that feeling very strongly. I really enjoyed it.
True. Very true. And also the kind of tolerance which they show to opposing opinions. I think how the father tries to teach the kids that it's okay what someone else says. It doesn't mean that you have to follow what he says also. At the same time, you don't need to hate the person for whatever opinion they hold. You don't need to fight them. I don't know. I thought it was so relevant, those messages, for our current situation too.
What Ranjini said about relationships, not only the brother sister, I think she did a lot of like the parent relation, like was so well done.
So well done.
Such a perfect father.
Yeah.
He tells his brother also, no, Jack, like you don't beat around the bush when you're talking to a child, you talk to them directly. Then there's Cal's relationship with the children. There are so many such warm relationships, all of them. And another thing, the best thing, she gets Scout's voice so on point, as in it is such an adult topic, but not for a moment do you feel that it's not a child telling the story. It is so.
Correct.
Even there's one scene, the court scene, and everything, the jury's out and everyone is so stressed, and Scout is actually noticing the bald heads. She's counting that is so like a child. I mean, she does it really well. She got that so on point. It was like really well.
Right. True. And also children always do that, right? When like she talks about entailments, and she may not know what it is.
She doesn't know. That's
children always do that, talk about something which they don't know anything about, but they would like to sound important. And all that, I think she's done really well.
Yeah, she did it very well.
And I think I don't know how it is in the movie, I haven't watched it, but that scene where Atticus is outside the prison, right?
Oh, you
at
should
night,
watch.
and these children go there and scout.
So good.
Literally
Yeah.
diffuses the situation. I thought that was such a
Correct.
powerful scene.
Such a powerful scene, and it's taken so well in the movie too.
Is it? Okay.
Very
Yeah, I watched the movie. It was really good. Did anyone else watch the movie?
I
Yes,
did.
yes, I watched it, ma'am.
Yeah, it was really good.
Gregory Peck as Atticus Finch was outstanding, actually.
Outstanding, outstanding.
Performance.
Really.
I think nobody else would have done it, actually. That's control,
Yeah.
the train and other
Yeah.
things.
Correct.
Very good.
What were the 3
Reese-
Oscars?
I think one was for best actor. I know he got it. I don't remember the other things. Other ones.
He
I'm
was
not sure.
given someone, that movie got 3 Oscars, I think so.
Yeah, and it was nominated for 5 more also.
5 more also. No, it was
Which
outstanding.
year was this published, the book?
It was 36, is it? 36,
60.
I think.
1960.
Hey,
Yeah, it
no.
was later.
Sorry. 1960. It's based on
1935. Yeah.
35, yeah.
Ah, yes, it's a 1935.
So 25 years later. Yeah.
25 years later, 1960. And inside, she promoted the book till 1964, and then she stopped. After that, she did no interviews, nothing at all.
Apparently,
She went into.
a lot of backlash from the local community there.
Oh, really? Oh,
There was I read the piece long back on Harper. So, and another thing, her father was also a criminal lawyer, and he also did a criminal case for 2 black men who were sentenced, and after that he
Yeah.
never took up another criminal case. So that must have also been somewhere in her head while writing the book.
yeah. And also there was, I read about one more specific case also which happened. Her father had also, like what you had mentioned, he had taken up. One more case was also mentioned, and then this Scottsboro Trials was also mentioned. Scottsboro was a big thing because it was in the same time period as this. Yeah, but I guess it was quite common at that time to have an all-white jury, and then raping a white woman was definitely sentenced to death, and anything to do with a white woman was mobbing was lynching was permitted, so that all this was it is quite shocking for me to hear about it. I didn't know all this at that time.
Right.
Yeah. And even the courtroom is completely divided, no? So they sit, all of the African Americans sit up, and only the whites are supposed to sit down in the court. And
Have the colored balcony.
Yeah, the
colored
segregation
balcony.
laws continued for quite some time, because if it is 1960, Martin Luther King was still there, right? They were fighting to end
Yeah.
segregation, so it was still very much a
Mhm.
reality. Another
Yeah.
movie along these lines, which I would recommend, is The Green Book. If you have not
Mhm.
seen, definitely you should watch. If you want to
Okay.
look at racism in Southern US,
Okay. The Green Book, is it?
The Green Book. Yeah.
Okay. There was another Netflix show also which mentions a lot about To Kill a Mockingbird, in fact, which is taking place at Alabama, and it is based on, it's also a courtroom drama.
Yeah, the
And
one-
Just Mercy.
Just Mercy, correct.
Just Mercy. You recommended it to me. Now I ended up watching
Yeah. Did you watch it?
it.
Yeah. We all watched it.
Wow, great.
I
No,
too saw it.
Just Mercy should pay me something, I think.
This whole month I have been in Alabama. I read Mockingbird, then
Yeah.
I read Go Set a Watchman, then I watched both the movies. I've just been there.
Fantastic.
Books are supposed to make you travel, so
Absolutely.
it looks like you parked
seriously.
in Alabama.
Totally. The whole month I've just done this.
And I had no idea that Just Mercy is about Alabama and all these things. Nothing. When I watched, I had no idea, and I was like, wow, okay, I need to tell this to everyone.
And they keep saying it's Harper Lee, go see the museum.
Yeah.
And they're doing the same thing.
They're doing the same thing. Yeah, it is like, wow. So, okay, let me share the screen. We'll finish the remaining. Okay. Okay. So we saw about the narrative style, and So next, let's see about Go Setter Watchman. Thankfully, Tulika saved me from reading the entire book. So, so yeah. So the book basically, Go Setter Watchman, was advertised as a sequel to the To Kill a Mockingbird, but it's actually supposed to be a first draft of To Kill a Mockingbird. So there are many passages which are literally the same, for word to word are same between both the books. And so this is one of the quotes which I read. I think the thing that I most deplore about American writing is the lack of craftsmanship. It comes right down to this: the lack of absolute love for language, the lack of sitting down and working a good idea into a gem of an idea. This was mentioned by Lee in one of her last interviews in 1964. And this is what she wanted to do. She wanted to take an idea, work on it, and make it so much better and present before it's actually presented. And Harper Collins did not protect her legacy. They have actually published one of the first drafts of To Kill a Mockingbird. They published a shoddy first draft and decided instead to manufacture a phony literary event. And it isn't surprising that they did it. It's just that it's sad. And yeah. So, okay, I've missed out this slide. So they sold actually 1.1 million copies in a week's time. It was the fastest selling book in the entire history of HarperCollins, Go Setter Watchman. And New York Times called it epic money grabs in the modern history of American publishing. And it's very clear, Lee said she will never publish another book. The one person who was a huge protector and support for Lee was her sister Alice, and Alice had passed away. And the new person who had stepped into Alice's shoes was this person called Tonja Carter. And she was the publishers at least said that she's the person who gave the manuscript to us. And when it was published, Lee was 89. She was frail. She had a hearing and sight. Her hearing and her sight was impaired. She was a stroke victim living in a nursing home. And it's not clear how much she knows about Go Setter Watchman being even published. The year after it was published, she passed away. So it's quite sad, actually. I think it's 2015 it was published. 2016, Harper Lee passed away. So it's very, it was completely something done by HarperCollins just to make money. And I was reading a little bit of it when thankfully Tulika told me about it and I stopped reading.
Yeah, it's a really, it's cheating by HarperCollins. You don't expect people to do such things. Without even knowing, letting the person, Harper Lee, knowing about it, and you just publish it. It's a very cheap thing to do. That is what
It
I
is
would
so
say.
different. It is so, as in Atticus is not Atticus. In the Mockingbird it's very clear he's a white man with a conscience. But here he's ambiguous. He says all men are equal, but the blacks are not ready for this equality. And hearing Atticus say that, I almost died. I was like, why is it like this? It was, and the trial was apparently, it was just mentioned. She just mentions it in a flashback that, and she says Tom is acquitted in Go Setter Watchman. Apparently, I forget the name who the editor was. She read this Go Setter Watchman and she said the childhood parts are really good, so you should work on that. And she took those two lines when she has mentioned that he fought a case for this black man, and she says like you should work on that. I was amazed how much difference a good editor can make. She almost and then I think Harper Lee took another 3 years rewriting the whole thing. It must have been a lot of work. She had many drafts apparently, right?
Yes, this is what even I heard. So when this draft was given, the editor asked her to, rework on it, and it went through many more drafts. In fact, many drafts before it finally became what it was. So, and the editor played a major role in, polishing and bringing out the best of the manuscript. So, which is what I think it happened, but she wanted to write about race. In that, she was very clear when she gave her draft. But I think there's also a lot of Atticus is shown a little bit racist also,
Yeah.
right?
It's a very angsty book because she is constantly shocked that how can Atticus be like this? Where in my childhood, in her childhood, he's the mockingbird Atticus. But when she comes back after 20, she's 26 in this book, he's entirely different. And Jem is dead. Oh my God. I hope I'm not giving spoilers, but Jem is dead. So it was so heartbreaking. He doesn't show up in the book at all.
Oh my God.
Yeah, don't read it. Just don't read it.
Yeah, I just stopped. I read a little and then as soon as you told me this, I just stopped.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, so fine. Next, we'll go to one more thing. So the first discussion topic was about the relevance of the book. Do you think the novel is still relevant? So one of the main, things which is discussed whenever To Kill a Mockingbird comes up is that it's said that there's a lot of opposing views about the book, even among the politically, whether left wing or right wing, both of them sometimes support it, both of them sometimes oppose the book. So there's been a shift of attitude about race in the 1970s in US, and after that itself, there's been a lot of second thoughts about To Kill a Mockingbird. Basically, usually the people who are white readers have a very positive impression of the book, but there's a more ambiguous reception by the black readers. In fact, school districts in the Canadian provinces of New Brunswick and Nova Scotia attempted to have the book removed from standard teaching curriculum in the 1990s, stating, this is what they said: the terminology in this novel subjects students to humiliating experiences that rob them of their self-respect and the respect of their peers. The word nigger is used 48 times in the novel. We believe that the English language arts curriculum in Nova Scotia must enable all students to feel comfortable with ideas, feelings, and experiences presented without fear of humiliation. To Kill a Mockingbird is clearly a book that no longer meets these goals and therefore must no longer be used for classroom instruction. Some other negative things which are mentioned about the book is that the black characters are not fully examined. There's a lot of racial epithets used. There's a very stereotyped depiction of superstitious blacks, which is no longer true. And Calpurnia, who to some critics feel that she's only an updated version of a very contented slave, And again, Atticus is seen as having this white savior complex. It's in the why does it need to be that it's a white man who has to save him? And they say there's a lot of classist stereotyping also when it comes to the various men. Of course, you have Evil, who is considered as a white trash. And I think there's an interesting quote where he says, people like us don't like the Cunninghams. Cunninghams don't like the Evils. Evils don't like the blacks. And so there's a lot of demonization of the poor rural white trash also. So these are some of the reasons for which the book faces a lot of flack. In my opinion, personally, I think they've tried to stay true to the times. So this is how it was in 1930s. And the word, probably the word nigger also didn't have the negative connotation which it has now. What do you think? Do you think it no longer is relevant, and using these kind of words in a book which is being taught to children could probably make the children feel shameful and also could lead to bullying or teasing or something? What is your opinion of this? Anyone, please feel free to unmute yourself.
Archana, so I don't know about classroom education, whether they were studying the whole book. I agree with what you said, that it stayed true to the time, the word, this, whatever is on this slide, the racial slurs that they used or the terminology used to. I think it's a story, and the story is representative of the time, and the characters are the characters chosen by the author to move the story and set it in a certain place and with certain characters. So if so, especially when it's fiction, I find it very funny when people say that Calpurnia is the contented slave. So what, you should not have contented slaves in any book, or that contented slaves were not there. White savior, because that's how it was, right? He was a lawyer and the person convicted. So if it was white man saving white man, then it wouldn't be this book, right? Or it wouldn't catch the imagination of so many people. So about the school system using it, maybe it could have a preface and say that this book was written in 1960. It represented a story set in 1935, and even the language, even the English, right? If you look at older books, the language is different from contemporary books. So it also has all these words and the sentence formation and things like that. So I think it could still be used in schools with a disclaimer. But yeah, it should certainly not be banned. And the classes stereotyping and demonization, again, I mean, it's a story that shows you a slice of life of rural Alabama in the 1930s. I don't agree with this. I think people have become overly sensitive.
I think this book, I mean, they should feel proud about it. Like in 1930s, this is what was the situation, and Barack Obama became the president of USA. So I think there is no reason you should be ashamed of this book, and they should just kind of ignore it and all that.
So one of the things,
sorry, go ahead, Archana.
No, I was just thinking, one of the things which I'm coming across, like I keep reading about in the news, is that what they say is not only with To Kill a Mockingbird, but even with other things, even in the history books, they keep trying in the US also, just like India, they keep trying to change the history textbooks. So one of the things which they mention is that the children now, most of them, have no idea of race when they are born. So they say that they have no sensation that this person is different from me, and he was treated differently before. They have no such idea. So when you expose them to something like this, telling them that no, these were people who were treated differently before, that is when you actually introduce them to that concept itself. Is one of the statements which is said. I'm not sure how far you think it's right, but this is something which I read about.
No. I entirely disagree with this idea. You cannot hide history from people. I mean, every generation has a right to know.
Right.
That is
correct.
It is, I mean, right to information kind of
Correct.
thing.
It gives a perspective. Like when I talk to my son, he says, why are these benefits for women? Because he has never seen the girls treated any differently. But if he had this perspective, he'd know where it was coming from and why they need whatever. They need that perspective. They need to see how it was. I think, yeah, what Suchi says, you cannot delete that history so that nobody learns anything bad from it.
Correct. That's true. Very true. Very, very true. Yeah.
In fact, this white savior complex came up when we were doing Toni Morrison. Remember The Bluest Eye? The black writers, they call out all these books like To Kill a Mockingbird, The Help. In all these books, it's the white people saving the black people. But I mean, they had nobody else. Like they couldn't.
There wasn't.
Because the black man was not there to save them. No. Exactly. So how does it? I mean, I don't know. I don't understand why they
have to be saved. It's the white people who have to save them. The people
exactly. People in power. Exactly. People in power, people in privilege have to save and help the people who don't have that power. That is what it is.
So the only thing is they feel it shouldn't be taught in schools.
Yeah.
As if there are other better books which have a better written by black authors. That is the point of view.
which are also maybe more
Equally, yeah, or more
recently
powerful.
written, more recently
Correct.
written, probably. That's what they feel, maybe. Like, for
Yeah.
instance, the word nigger may be unknown to people.
Right.
Yeah, and like my friend was telling me recently, they've stopped wishing each other Merry Christmas. So they never say Merry Christmas because it's only it's a holidays. It's a holiday season for many others too. It's not just them. And it's wrong to assume that the person whom you're talking to is a Christian and who celebrates Christmas.
Oh my
So
God.
she says,
Wokeness.
yeah, so she was saying,
Wokeness has happened.
so she says, we only wish happy holidays. We never wish Merry Christmas now. It's considered wrong to wish Merry
It's a
Christmas.
bit much. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit too much. But yeah,
Look through the eyes of etiquette also, madam.
yeah,
For example, he's an attorney, a widower, and he has
Mhm.
got, and since the mother is not there, he has the calculation to take care of them.
Mhm.
So number one. Number two, also he fights a case actually where already it is decided that he will be losing the case. Even then he fights it.
Correct.
After having been declared guilty, those jury members, when he passes this courtroom, all people stand and respect him. And one actually says to his daughter, get up, your father is leaving the chamber.
Yeah, that is beautiful
That's
scene.
number one.
Yeah,
That is a very touching scene actually. Get up, your
correct.
father is, stand up. And she
Mm.
doesn't understand, but automatically gets up. That is one thing. And he was very stoic in his approach towards life. In the sense, actually, this Bob Evil spits on his face. Even that
Mm.
wonderfully brought out in the movie.
Movie, yeah. Yes.
The way he keeps his face without any feeling, nothing at all, no expression. That was
Mm.
wonderful. Like way he handles that.
Mm.
And I found him heroic in the sense he is fighting a case that he is going to lose. It has already lost it. It speaks
Mm.
volumes of his personality, actually.
Correct.
And to take care of it, he is more of an attorney than of a father. For example, when actually his child scout, actually she gets pulled up by her teacher that why you read so much? You should only concentrate on the lessons that I'm going to teach here. Why you are reading more? Because Atticus had the habit of reading to his children in the night every day. He
Mm.
reads and other things. So the girl speaks more than what actually was expected of her in the class, and she gets pulled up. And this father becomes an attorney, and he says, "Okay, we'll get into a compromise."
Correct.
What compromise? She doesn't understand. He explains her an agreement reached by mutual consent. That is the
Mm.
compromise. Now here is the way he suggests actually. You concede the necessity of going to school, you accept it, you will be going to school, and we keep on reading the same every night. That is a compromise he strikes with it. So I find him a combination of paternal love, in other words, for his own family, and then social responsibility in fighting a case that he has already lost, and for which he commands humongous respect from the other members actually. That I found because in the other recently as like a review, he is one of the writers. He has conducted a webinar on plots and characters. So the question was which is required more or which should be stronger, whether a plot or a character to make the story or book whatever that is stronger. Because the Atticus Finch was in my mind at the moment of time. I was extremely influenced by his character. I told character must be strong, sir, to have a story also strong. Of course, he laughed and said, whom are you referring? I said, Atticus Finch, sir. Look at the story. If you find Atticus Finch on the one side, actually, if you take him the epitome of virtue and rest of things, on the other side, you have Bob Evil. He is epitome of evil. Even his name sounds evil, actually. So
Yeah, it
both
sounds evil. Yeah.
evil, ma'am, actually. So two characters actually. Rest of things only join them or something like that. These two characters are important. So for me, I found actually if a character is strong, story will be strong. Of course, we are yet to come across a plot that is strong, which takes the characters along with it. We have to come across such book. But recently, if you read Dr. Jivago, character was strong. Any classic that is for that matter. because you
Hmm.
remember them all times to come. You may forget the story, but you will not forget
Yeah,
not
we don't
him.
forget the character.
That is what I'm saying actually. You cannot forget a character if he takes his place in your heart. That is what I found with him. And one represents good, the other represents evil. Particularly, that is what we all, and of course, Tom Robinson is in the middle. That is a different thing. And he is also actually charged with something fictitious. We do not know actually whether that so-called rape has taken place or not. That is also
No,
doubtful.
no.
That girl also, what my father does is no way concerned to you. Something like that she says. I forgot the dialogue. So that is also doubtful whether she has really put to that or not. That is the thing. But I am puzzling on one thing. This is something I could not understand. Maybe you may please help me. See, what made Bob Evil to bring this case to the court? Because he knows he'll be looked down in the eyes of the society or his own community, and it's a white community for that matter. He will have to meet lot of humiliation and other things in that society. What is going to gain? What would have gained actually had he not brought the case to court? Because it is a personal humiliation for him, and his daughter will be subject to further humiliation in society. Because by a black man getting raped is still bigger sin. That was it. I was not able to get convinced actually. What made him to bring it? Was it because the economic deprivation was there? As even in whites, as you just said, he was a marginalized in the society. He wanted to gain back a position through advertisement and other things. This I was still puzzled actually.
Uh, One thing which I felt was maybe they didn't know whether Tom is going to remain silent. So what if Tom tells that it is she jumped on me, she tried to kiss me or something like this outside. So that will be most shameful for his daughter rather than So this was one easy way of wiping out Tom from the picture itself. And despite it being his daughter's mistake, I think he feels Tom is to be blamed for whatever his daughter did.
That is basically offense in the form of defense. That is the thing.
Yeah. This is
you're
one
right.
thing which I
That's
thought.
what. He must have been scared that if I don't take Tom out, he might go and say that what you said. That's why he doesn't want his daughter, because his daughter did. He doesn't have a hand, so there is no question of
Exactly. There is no confusion that Tom
That-
didn't do anything, because that left-right thing was very clear, and
Very
it
clear.
is the father who hit the daughter.
So he's
Yeah.
angry with the daughter,
Very
but
correct,
he
very
still wants
correct.
to protect her
Hmm.
dignity by saying that she didn't do anything. He came onto her, which is why.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that
And jury believes that.
jury
So this
doesn't.
is
Jury is prejudiced already. So there is no question of what. All white juries.
all
Exactly.
white. And so even in the book they deliberate for many hours. But if you see the real Scottsboro trials, it hardly, in fact, they say it hardly took any time for them to even deliberate. So for every the 9 boys, when it came up, for each one, as soon as the person comes up, even as they are deliberating, the next person used to start. They used to start the trial. So the jury is not even there, and the trial has already started. And it was just like, okay, guilty, guilty, guilty. It was just going on like that.
Yes, exactly.
So, but here what they're trying to show in To Kill a Mockingbird is they know that definitely Tom did nothing wrong. The jury knows that, but still,
Yes.
they don't want to accept that a white man could lie or Tom could be innocent. That is not something they could accept, which is why they're deliberating on what is to be done. Should we really, tell him guilty or not guilty? If otherwise they would have just called him out guilty. This is what is something that Bob Evil doesn't expect, right? That's why he's angry on Atticus, that you showed my falsehood outside, despite winning the case. Otherwise, why should he get angry on him?
Spitting on his face.
Yeah.
When it's actually his hatred for Atticus.
Yeah, Atticus.
Yes. Because you got hold of my point, big point, and he is exposed.
Correct. Okay. So I also liked the symbol of the mockingbird, which is very beautifully brought out, a powerful symbol for the pure and innocent creatures. Again, here, even people, and how harming them for no reason at all would be a sin. So he says, I like this sentence. He says that mockingbirds don't do one thing, but make music for us to enjoy. They don't eat up people's gardens, don't nest in corn cribs. They don't do one thing, but sing their hearts out for us. That's why it's a sin to kill a mockingbird.
Yeah.
And here we have Tom Robinson also in the same thing. He only goes and helps her. And he faces this. He feels sorry for her, in fact. And despite that, this is what he faces. And same with Boo Radley. They are fragile, kind, and moral individuals, helpful to others, but they are misunderstood by the prejudiced society.
In this case, one is colored, the other one is white.
Right. Correct.
Means the society was, that means it was common to both. Killing a mockingbird, a bird that only sings.
Correct. But Boo Radley is more because of his father, right? More than, I don't think, more than society, it's his father who decides to lock him up.
Somewhere I read they committed some mistake, and for that purpose, actually, he was locked and put inside.
By his father. Yeah. So the real Boo Radley had some legal thing or something he had done for which he was.
Dependent on real life situation in creating this Boo Radley and his house arrest type of a thing that happened
Correct.
in where
Yeah.
I read.
In fact, it reminded me of my childhood. So we had this nearby a small bungalow, which used to be always locked up from outside. But some days in the nights, we would see the lights would go on, and then there would be no lights later on. And we were banned from leaving our building and going on the street towards that place. So we could play inside the building, but we were not allowed to go out. But still, we used to, go in groups and when I try and peep into the place and find out what is happening. Is there anyone inside? So I was so reminded of that.
Exactly. But one more thing, madam, even though you treat both Tom Robinson and Boo Radley as mockingbirds, at least Boo Radley had a chance to redeem himself at the end. Tom Robinson, well, he was subject to violence and he was shot 17 times actually when he tried to escape.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, there also this white supremacy remains now. Boo Radley being white, he got a chance to redeem himself. There was redemption in, whereas that was not there in Tom Robinson's case. That's what I felt.
Right. So there is that sentence which comes right where Atticus says that the second she opened her mouth and screamed, Tom's life was over.
Exactly. Another thing, Boo Radley was also not subject to any legal scrutiny, though actually he held Bob well. Both the sheriff and Atticus. Here I find a spot on Atticus' character. Though he makes, let us proceed against my the son, Jem and other thing, but the sheriff never allows him, and Boo Radley escapes that, which was not there as in the case of Tom and Robinson. If you analyze each other, they have their and actually gray areas, colors, so many what I call a lot of things that we can dig and understand. Each character, which character you take. For example, there was one episode in the sense when actually this girl was subjected to the socializing. All people said gossip and bring coffees that I was serving and other thing. I was thinking, what is the important timely? Why at all this this is to be there? Why actually she must be subjected to the socializing with the elderly women? I was not able to make out actually. That is one thing. Subsequent island mother was not there. So in order to ensure that actually she will not miss this feminine touch in her life, so Cornelius was there and that Alexandra was there and this again, this socializing serving was there. Maybe he was trying to bring her as a proper woman. That's what I felt actually.
Correct. I think so too. That's, I think, one of the main reasons why that scene is there, to show how women spend their time or, and how much they want Scout to become one in that.
Exactly, madam. All of the book, if you look at it, everything is either serious or violent or story, excepting this particular, what I call drinking tea or whatever you call it. Other than things are. Yes.
True. But one more, just to clarify that the scene with Boo Radley in the end, where the sheriff does not allow him, says Atticus, you must not mention.
Taken up to
But
subject.
yeah. But over
Ah.
there, the sheriff does not tell him that, I don't want to mention about Boo Radley because Boo Radley will be punished by law or something. He says that all the women will start appreciating him, and they would
They will-
all end up, all the women will appreciate and bring him cakes, and he will lose the
Yes.
privacy that he's maintained all these years.
That's why I don't want to expose him.
Yeah. So that also I thought was a very, very interesting way of putting it.
Because you do not entirely understand the culture at that moment, ma'am, actually.
Yeah.
Bringing cakes and other. And there is
Yeah.
one woman who puts a gun always in her lap and sits on veranda.
and it's not, we don't know whether she really keeps a gun and sits. It's only the kids who talk about it that she does that. So we don't
Yes.
really know.
I thought maybe those
Yeah.
things are taken care of in the sequel, which I did not read. You might have read, or some madam has said she has read something of that. The sequel is
No sequel. A sequel that's not a sequel.
A sequel is not a sequel.
I don't know. I will go through it. We have time.
Yeah.
One more thing
It's a great thing.
when the sheriff intervenes and tells him not to talk about Boo Radley. I like that. Like when he thinks it's Jem who has killed it, he's very particular that he has to talk about it. He has to tell everybody. And Atticus, when he realizes that it's Boo Radley who's done it, he backs off. It's like kindness over justice. I mean,
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. That was very beautifully done.
yeah.
But don't you find an element of selfishness in Atticus there? A small spot in his character, otherwise. Gave away little to his son. Anyway, it's all a story, madam has just said. The story we have our own. But all said and done, it is a great book. I thank madam
Yes.
for the one. just chosen.
No, thanks to all of you that I read it again. I'm very happy. I forgot why I liked it, So actually, I was just telling them, I read it long back and I forgot why I liked it. So it was a good reason to find out why. Yeah, so this was also another, that I think the same theme. Jem was certainly never cruel to animals, but I had never known his charity to embrace the insect world. Why couldn't I mash him? I asked. Because they don't bother you. Jem answered in the darkness. He had turned out his reading light. Where there is that roly-poly bug or something which enters her room and she wants to smash it. And then he says, don't, because they don't bother you. And that was also very beautifully done. Okay, and another thing was race and class in the 1930s Alabama. So it is the book, though it speaks a lot about racism, there's a lot of classism also is mentioned, and there's a lot about sexism and feminism also. And I think this is so significant. This is one of the reasons why the book appeals to many, and it's because it's significant to other parts of the world too, especially in, like, if you take our class system in the caste system in India, So Jem describes to Scout the 4 folks or classes of people in Macomb County. Our kind of folks don't like the Cunninghams. The Cunninghams don't like the Evils. And the Evils hate and despise the colored folks. And also, I think there's one more also. It illustrates, this illustrates how prejudice can be close-minded and dangerous, as well as seemingly benign. It looks very benign and thing, but in all cases, it's ridiculous and misguided. And the other one, I think it was there in the quotes. One more thing about classism, where, according to the aunt, whenever a person inhabits a particular place for a very long time, they belong to a very higher class or something, not based on their senses or all those other things, how they behave or all that, but they belong to a higher class, or they are higher in society only because they belong to that place for a longer time. Do you remember that?
Yeah, she says that.
Yeah. Okay, let's go to some of the quotes. You never really understand a person until you consider things from his point of view, until you climb into his skin and walk around in it.
Best quote.
Yeah,
that's
one of the
best.
yes.
Best quote.
Yeah. There are just some kind of men who are so busy worrying about the next world, they've never learned to live in this one. And you can look down the street and see the results. So she says this about Boo Radley, where the father is so worried about, I need to cover this man and not allow him and all. I think that's where this quote comes, right? And and he says that, you need to look down the street and you can see the results. There's this person who's locked up for so many years. Okay. If you shouldn't be doing it, then why, if you shouldn't be defending him, then why are you doing it? For a number of reasons, said Atticus. The main one is, if I didn't, I couldn't hold up my head in town. I couldn't represent this county in the legislature. I couldn't even tell you or Jem not to do something again. And I thought that was so beautifully put.
Exactly.
Some kind of, how do you even tell when you're not following something good, how do you even tell your child to do something? And the other one, Atticus, are we going to win it? No, honey. Then why? Simply because we were licked 100 years before we started is no reason for us not to try to win.
Yes.
It was also very beautifully said.
Depth of personality.
Actually, here I would like to add something. Like he says, no, I can live with other folks. I have got to live with but I have got to live with myself. The one thing that doesn't abide by majority rule is a person's conscience. I think that is very,
I have that quote also, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. So Atticus, you must be wrong, she says, no? How is that? Well, most folks seems to think they are right and you are wrong. So you must be wrong. So that was also very beautifully said, I think. And the one that doesn't abide by majority rule is a person's
exactly.
conscience. Yeah. It's when you're licked before you begin, but you begin anyway and you see it through, no matter what. You rarely win, but sometimes you do. It's about Mrs. Dugos and her addiction and how she, tries to fight against it towards the end. I think this is one of the places where Atticus mentions it. It was times like these when I thought my father, who hated guns and had never been to any wars, was the bravest man who ever lived.
He shoots the dog.
Yeah. Somewhere I had received the impression that fine folks were people who did the best they could with the sense they had. But Aunt Alexandra was of the opinion, obliquely expressed, that the longer a family had been squatting on one patch of land, the finer it was. Well, how do you know we ain't Negroes? This was also very interesting. Uncle Jack Finch says we really don't know. He says as far as he can trace back the Finches we ain't. But for all he knows, we might have come straight out of Ethiopia during the Old Testament. Well, if we came out during the Old Testament, it's too long ago to matter. That's what I thought, said Jem. But around here, once you have a drop of Negro blood, that makes you all black. I think that's also very, very beautifully put.
Archana, for this quote, I want to say, I don't know whether it came out of this book, but all the years that I lived in the US, this last sentence, right? If you have a drop of, black blood or whatever, it makes you all black. This I have heard a lot. I don't know whether it came from the book or in the book it came because that was how it was considered. But it is true, like even Barack Obama is half white, right?
Yeah,
Not considered as half blood or race. He's considered as black.
Black president.
Michelle Obama is black, as in like both her parents are black, but because Barack Obama has one black parent, and
he is
true,
considered black.
Great grandfather or like a lot of people, the white people had black slaves and they had kids, right, with their black slave women, and so over the years, right, they may be light skinned or whatever, but as long as somewhere in your ancestry you had one ancestor who was black, you are forever labeled as black, no matter what your skin color is. So that I really don't know whether that sentiment is from the book or the book is mirroring the sentiment.
Okay.
There is one beautiful movie, The Passing, where there are two. It's again a white black person who is actually has a white inheritance, and she tries to pass as white. I mean, two sisters and all that, two friends or two sisters. It's there in the Netflix.
Okay.
Yeah,
The passing, is it?
yeah, the passing. Yeah.
Okay. I'll catch it. Okay, one more. But you weren't in a fix. You testified that you were resisting Miss Evil. Were you so scared that she'd hurt you, you ran a big buck like you? No, sir. I was scared I'd be in court, just like I am now. Scared of arrest? Scared you'd have to face up to what you did? No, sir. Scared I'd have to face up to what I didn't do.
Yeah,
And
this
that's
is
so beautifully.
yeah.
Public prosecutor Gilmer.
They've done it before and they did it tonight, and they'll do it again. And when they do it, seems that only children weep. That was also so beautifully said.
I lost the case.
Yeah. Yeah. So with that, we are done.
Nice.
Yes, this was really good. I really enjoyed reading the book.
Okay, madam.
Yeah, this book is truly a classic. I think not just for the story and the race aspect, but so many things the author has brought up through the voice of a child narrator, right? Even like what the adults are saying, what they're doing. They can see the neighbors down the street who is, genuine to them, and who is whatever, preaching one thing, doing the other thing, and Scout is always able to catch that, right? And the fact that the father reads to them, that she's so ahead in her reading in school, that school is boring for her, because for most children school is exciting or tough or whatever, but for her it's boring. She has to actually show that she's
क्या
at
बोल
a
रही
lower
है?
level. And
मैं नहीं आ सकती हूँ.
the father being so open to answering their questions, not giving some quick fix answers, at
Correct.
the same time not making any difference between the boy and girl, like she's always wearing those overalls, and you
Yeah.
should be like a lady, you should be wearing dresses, and how that one parent being so sensible gives the children freedom and confidence to go around everywhere, or to have those conversations with their father also, right? Like to
Correct.
back, or to listen in on some conversations. Like there's one part when Atticus is talking to his brother, and Scout is listening to them, right? And she thinks they don't know, but then at the end of that conversation she's like, oh, it looks like Atticus wanted me to hear this. He knew that she was standing behind the door, and I
Yes,
thought those were
yes.
so well done, those small
Very so
nuances.
well done. Yeah.
And also about the aunt coming to stay to in fact, that night when they come back, and then after she's hurt, then she says, my aunt didn't know what she was doing because she handed me overalls to wear. Otherwise she wouldn't. And I thought those were like really through the voice of the child, it's beautifully done. One thing I felt was, why were there no women in the jury? Okay, it's all white, but it was an all male jury as well. It wasn't just all white, it was all male. So I was wondering if at that time women were not chosen for jury duty. I don't know enough about 19th US.
Quite possible. Yeah, quite possible.
Yeah, that,
You have classism, you have racism, you have gender bias. So it's possible.
Yeah. I don't know when did women get the right to vote in
it's
US?
1920. I looked it up. Yeah, that was late only for US.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
the fact that women were not on the jury, like such thing would not pass now, right? Now it will have to be representative. But bias is still there. Racism is very much alive. Otherwise, we wouldn't have Black Lives Matter as we as last year. So it continues in various ways. Maybe not so much in your face, but and sometimes it's exceedingly the pendulum has gone the other way also. Like you can't say so. Like Americana, right? In Americana, in that scene, which for me it's like a funny scene where she says that there were two people helping out in the shop, and you cannot say that the black person helped me. It's so ridiculous not to use the easiest descriptor, which is the visual descriptor. It's not a derogatory thing.
Correct.
But it has become such a no-no. Like you can't say that, oh yeah, you mean the black. Suppose two people have the same name, and then you say, yeah, it's the the black Michelle or whatever. It's not right to do that. So sometimes I think they've taken it in the other direction also, trying to
Eh,
overcompensate on the terminology, but not on the the thought behind.
Just to understand, Ranjani, they don't even mention the African American person. Even that they can't say, is it?
No, I think everyone has become super conscious. In fact, I also wonder. In fact, last year when I went to US for a holiday, I was asking many of my friends that, are you always watching your word choice, or your sentence formation? And they are like, oh, well, we hear it so much, so we are careful. But I
Careful.
feel that now if I go, I might say something which would be construed as racist, not because I'm racist, because I don't know the lingo. Like, I don't know. It's like nigger, right? Like, you
Yeah.
don't say nigger. Then for a long time, Negro was acceptable. Now you don't even say Negro.
And
Yeah.
black is acceptable.
You say
find-
black only if I'm under duress,
Yeah, it's so strange. Black, if you say black is Negro is a no, absolutely no, but black is okay. But फिर भी थोड़ा acceptable. That is, it's just
So like my son is learning Spanish now, my younger one. So in Spanish, the word I think for black or for brown, something the word in Spanish is negro.
yeah, that's where it came from.
Yeah.
So
So he's saying he was telling me, Mommy, this is so bad. They need to change their language. They need to change the word that they are using for this. We're like, oh my
yeah,
God.
this is how ridiculous it has become, right? So now American pop culture is dictating what other languages should be using, and they have some common root and all, right? These languages.
Yeah.
So this is how where sometimes I feel that American pop culture being so spread across the world is really just contorting everyone else unnecessarily. It may not be an issue for us, but now it's like I can't even say that I wore a black sari anymore, without thinking whether I should use the color black or not.
Yeah. True. So there is that joke which is there, where there's an American man and a Britisher who are talking, and they say, so one of them says this is a lift, the other person says no, this is an elevator. So immediately the American says, we are the ones who invented this, we invented this. So we are the ones who know about what it's supposed to be called. So he says, you invented the elevator, but I invented the language.
that's a good one.
So allow me to choose.
Yeah, that's because those words you'll have to learn differently the minute you go, because people will just look at you like you can't say spectacles, you have to say glasses, you have to say elevator, there were so many things I had to learn. I remember when I went for my eye exam, right? Like I would say Z and I had to learn to say Z because she thought I couldn't see the letter. I know this letter. I say it as Z. You don't know any better. So you have to
Crazy,
learn.
actually. Okay. So, by the way, I think the book which is winning the voting for the next time is House for Mr. Biswas. So, shall we go ahead with that? I thought we can choose a heftier read, but everyone seems to have voted mainly for. There's a lot of votes. In fact, I think 6 or 7 votes are there with the email and this together. 6 or 7 votes are there for House for Mr. Biswas.
I voted for Life of Others, Neil Mukherjee.
Yeah. So only you and Tulika, I think, have voted for Life of Others.
Oh.
So so there's some 6 or 7 votes for House for Mr. Biswas. So let's go with that then.
Yeah, sure. Paul.
Yeah. That's also going to be interesting, I think. He's also, and the book is supposed to be one of the best books of all that he's written.
I just hope it doesn't drag too much. That was my only apprehension, which is why I didn't go for it, because sometimes you just...
I know.
Can I ask a question about voting?
Please do.
No, it's a very general question. I'm just curious that on what basis do you all choose the books when you decide to vote for one and not the other? Do you like to choose something you've read and you're excited to discuss it with others, or do you like to choose something you've not read so that you read a new book? I'm just
Not
wondering. I
read.
haven't voted yet. Actually, I joined kind of
So-
later. So I'm just
So please
curious
vote
if
for.
it's
So
okay.
please vote for Life of Others.
But I want to know.
There are 7 votes. You give up now and read.
Arey,
Even
but
I have
answer
given up.
I have asked only one question. Now at least answer that.
I think some vote if they have already read the book, they want to have the discussion, and some vote if you really want to read a new book. That's the thing. I mean, whichever way. That is
Yeah.
the.
I like
Okay,
to
because
vote
I
for
could only
something I
think of
haven't
two.
read. Sorry.
You would. I thought as much that Tulika would. I mean, I know Tulika a little bit in the sense of her book choices. So I thought she would probably vote for something she has not read.
Absolutely, yeah. Because even even if I read the book, I read it again for the book club specifically. I never
Yeah,
rely
I
on that
know.
kind of thing because I do not remember much. So I always reread.
Yeah, no, not just that. I think you're very committed that way. If you're
Yeah,
doing
yeah.
it, you'll read the book again, you'll buy it.
So ask
I
Archana, I've given up also. Twice, I think. 2, 3 books I gave up.
Yeah.
But,
That is
but
okay.
not till you made a sincere attempt. So that's
Ah,
okay.
Right.
Yeah, that's the whole point.
So that's
Correct.
okay.
If that be the case,
Anyway.
it's actually multiple readings.
Mhm.
Such a
Yeah.
Right.
Which one?
This one. To Kill a
Yes.
Mockingbird.
Ah,
Yes.
that one, yeah, of course. I think any list in which this book is there, it is likely to win in such a group. And yeah. Even if most people are rereading it.
Yeah.
Correct.
So,
First time I read it, I only thought of Bradley. I was very young. So the only thing that I didn't read, the case and everything was so, I was just scared of Boo Radley. I was very young when I read it. I lost the essence of the book. It was only like second reading then I got what's happening. Because for about
So-
100 pages, she's talking about Boo Radley. They just
Yeah.
focus on getting him out and there's a lot of him. So anyway.
Correct. So one more thing is that I'm going to be traveling, so I'm not there the entire month of July. We'll have our discussion only in August. Is that okay? I'm so sorry for that. It's going to be a
I'm good with it.
it's okay. And you give us a lot of time. It's a big book.
Yeah.
The House for Mr. Biswas.
okay.
Isn't it?
So good.
That's the way I remember it. I'm not sure.
No, I don't think so. Like Lives of Others, I think is a much bigger book.
Yeah.
But,
Life of Others is much bigger book. So I think
But
we
I'm-
should go for Life of Others because in August, and we can come back to Mr. Biswas later.
Or we could do
You know,
a small book in the middle actually.
No, I actually thought that, I actually thought we should do Lives of Others and then come back to Biswas because Lives of Others is really a big book. And we have a lot
Yeah.
of time now, 1.5 months really. So maybe we can do this and then maybe August we can do Biswas. This is what I was thinking. I think
Yeah,
Biswas
perfect,
would be somewhere
perfect.
half of this. But now, so I'll leave it to all of you.
She has totally swayed the vote.
Maybe we'll do a show of hands voting. You want to do that?
Yeah. I think
I'm
that's good.
Either.
So probably, I can put the reactions. Just go to reactions and raise hands for who all want to read Lives of Others, and we'll do that.
Okay, Lives of Others.
Yeah.
Okay, I modify.
Good.
So Aaron doesn't count, but he's also raised his hand.
Very
So
bad, Ron.
Yeah, very nice. Please. More
Now it
hands, more
counts.
hands.
Okay. So my God, so it's like nearly everyone. So good. Except Ranjini. Ranjini, this is very bad.
Hey, you're looking for clean sweep or what?
Raising hands for reading the Lives of Others.
Actually, I
By
have no
name
idea
Mukherjee.
what this book is about. So,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
more of modern
I've-
literature.
I've
You will love
never
it.
heard of it.
Okay, it's a very, very interesting book. I've read it once, and
size of the book, it is a too big a book, so we have time physically 1.5 months. We will go for that is the only logic.
Yeah, exactly. It's a very good logic. It's very good logic.
Okay.
Well,
But
whether
it's
I
a-
read or not, I'll always learn something from this group. So I always come for that.
Yeah, that's true. That's really true.
But it's so okay. My testament is that it's a fantastic book. You wouldn't feel that it's a big book. The narration is so smooth and it's such an engrossing and gripping story, and you will really love it. So this is what I'm.
Yay. So good.
Good.
I'm
Excited.
very happy we are reading it.
Yeah. Oh God.
Okay.
Okay.
So great. Meet you all very soon, and we'll have it in the first week of August.
Yeah.